Life in the UK, exam preparation from Sunrise Training and Exam Support Center, Croydon. These are our class notes about King Charles I onwards. Page number 1. King Charles I, son of James I, Protestant king. He did not have good relations with the Parliament. He ruled the country without the help of the Parliament for 11 years. Charles I faced problems from Scotland. Scottish army was formed to invade England to fight King Charles I. But King Charles I did not have enough money for his royal army. Now in 1640, King Charles I called the Parliament and asked for funds. Because last 11 years, King Charles I ruled without the support of the Parliament. The Parliament refused to give him the money he needed for royal army. King Charles I was not happy with the Parliament. He wanted to arrest 5 parliamentary leaders. This is page number 1. Now we're moving to page number 2. King Charles I entered the House of Commons to arrest 5 parliamentary leaders, but they were not there because they had been warned. Because of this action of Charles I, civil war began in the country. 1642, English Civil War began between King Charles I and the Parliament. Country split into 2 groups. Cavaliers, they supported the king. Roundheads, they supported the Parliament. Oliver Cromwell, leader of parliamentary army. He was army general. In 1646, parliamentary army defeated Charles I in the Battle of Naseby and Marston Moor. King Charles I was arrested in 1646. He was in the prison for 3 years. Then he was executed in 1649 because he did not reach any agreement with the Parliament. Page number 3 of your notes. King Charles I was executed because he did not reach any agreement with the Parliament. 1642, start of English Civil War. 1646, end of Civil War. Parliament won the Civil War. Charles I was arrested in 1649. Charles I was executed. Oliver Cromwell, Army General. He became leader of Parliamentary Army. He became the Lord Protector. For 11 years, England was a republic. For 11 years, there was no king in England but the Lord Protector, Oliver Cromwell. After the death of Oliver Cromwell, his son, Richard Cromwell, became the next Lord Protector. He was not able to control the army and the government, so people were not happy with him. People needed stability. So we are going to see on page number 4. In 1649, Charles I was executed. Scottish people crowned Charles II as King of Scotland. And after the execution of Charles I, his son Charles II raised an army because Scottish people crowned him a king in Scotland. So he raised an army against Oliver Cromwell. But Oliver Cromwell defeated Charles II. Charles II was defeated, and to save his life, he hid himself in an oak tree. After that, Charles II fled to Europe, Netherlands. We are going to see in page number 5 what happens next. Charles II, son of Charles I. He hid himself in an oak tree. Very important question. It comes normally in the exam. Which king was hiding in the oak tree? So remember King Charles II. Charles II hid himself in an oak tree. Then he fled to Europe, Netherlands. In England, people were not happy with Richard Cromwell because he was not able to control the army and government. People wanted stability. People wanted a king. Parliament invited Charles II to come back from his exile, to come back from Netherlands. In May 1660, Charles II was crowned as King of England, Wales, Scotland and Ireland. Charles II then had good relations with the Parliament because he did not want to go back on his exile. So he had good relations with the Parliament. He remained king for 25 years until his death, and he died in 1685. He died in 1685. Page number 6 of your notes. King Charles II, he became king in May 1660 and he reigned for 25 years. He died in 1685. When he became king, after 5 years, a plague came in London. Thousands of people died in London, especially in poorer areas. In 1666, a great fire destroyed much of London city. King Charles II was interested in science. He established scientific society. The two early members of the Royal Society are Sir Isaac Newton, Sir Edmund Halley. Scientific Society, Royal Society, established by King Charles II. Now we are on page number 7 of your notes. During the reign of King Charles II, there were two disasters in London. 1665, a great fire in London. Samuel Pepys wrote about these events in his diary. St. Paul Cathedral was also destroyed in the fire, and New St. Paul's Cathedral was designed by Sir Christopher Wren, the architect. Page number 8 of your notes. King Charles II, Protestant king, and his brother King James II, Catholic king. King Charles II, Protestant king. King Charles II did not have legitimate children, so after his death, his Catholic brother James II became king. His brother, King James II, a Catholic king, he gave favor to Roman Catholics. He arrested some of the bishops of Church of England. Protestant people in the country were not happy with him, and they wanted to have a Protestant king. King James II had two Protestant daughters, and later his wife gave birth to a son who was Catholic. So the two eldest daughters were Protestant. The eldest daughter, Mary, was married to Protestant cousin William of Orange. He was the ruler of Netherlands. Now we are moving to page number 9 of your notes. You can see picture of Mary and William, page number 9. Important Protestant people asked William of Orange to invade England and to proclaim himself the King of England. So in 1688, Mary and William, invaded England. There was no resistance, no fighting. That's why this event is known as Glorious Revolution. There was no fighting, no resistance. Sorry, just a little disaster here. Let me place it back. There was no resistance. In 1688, Mary and William took over the country. They invaded England. There was no resistance, no fighting. This event is known as Glorious Revolution 1688. Mary and William took over the throne, and James II, Mary's father, fled to France. Mary and William ruled jointly. Mary and William passed the Bill of Rights 1689. The Bill of Rights increased the power of the Parliament and reduced the power of the King. The Bill of Rights also gave Parliament control to decide who should be the King of England. The monarch must be Protestant. According to Bill of Rights, every future monarch must be Protestant. William of Orange is known as King William III, and Mary, eldest daughter of King James II, became Queen Mary II of England. In the picture, you can see Queen Anne. Queen Anne was the next monarch after William and Mary. Now you are on your notes, page number 10. You can see picture of Queen Anne. Queen Anne of Great Britain. Queen Anne was the successor of William and Mary. Queen Anne signed Treaty of Union in Scotland, and it was in 1707. This is known as Act of Union, Treaty of Union in Scotland, and it created the Kingdom of Great Britain. Act of Union 1707 that created the Kingdom of Great Britain. Queen Anne did not have surviving children. When she died, Parliament brought her nearest Protestant German cousin and crowned him as a king, known as King George I. King George I was not able to speak very good English, so he had to rely on his ministers. One of the most important ministers was Sir Robert Walpole. One of the most important ministers was Sir Robert Walpole, and he got the title the Prime Minister. Sir Robert Walpole is the first Prime Minister of the UK, year 1721 to 1742. You can see the picture as well. Sir Robert Walpole, the first Prime Minister of the UK. Now we are on your notes, page number 11. First German king in this country, King George I, and he was the nearest Protestant cousin of Queen Anne. First German king, King George I. After his death, his son became the next king, known as King George II. So father, King George I, son, King George II. Grandson of James II, Charles Edward Stuart, known as Bonnie Prince Charlie, landed in Scotland. From Highlands in Scotland, clans supported Bonnie Prince Charlie to take over the throne from King George II, but it was unsuccessful. At the Battle of Culloden, King George II defeated clans, and Bonnie Prince Charlie fled back to France. Bonnie Prince Charlie never became king. So in the exam, if they ask you Bonnie Prince Charlie was a king of England or Scotland. You have to choose false statement because he never became king. After the Battle of Culloden, clones lost a lot of their power. King took land from the clones and gave to chieftains. This way chieftains became landlord and clones became tenants. So that is the last page, page 11 for today's lesson, and we will continue from there. Keep revising. This is a lot of history, but if we take interest we can make it. Okay, keep revising. Good luck for your exam. I wish you the best.